I do have so much compassion for animals, but do I normally do taking giving just on for animals? No, I never have done that before. And the most miraculous thing happened when I did. Okay, I'm gonna just share what happened because I really felt that I learned something about the power of prayer from this. And it might just be wishful thinking, but still. Okay. So I sent this little message out, right, about how we had done taking giving. And in part of my taking giving, I was meditating on animals in the shelter, animals in shelters and wishing for them to have loving homes. And I thought about this dog that's been stuck in the shelter for almost 4 years, which I just think is unbearable, you know? And she reminds me so much of my little Betty because she's so happy and playful. And I just felt like, man. And so I had mentioned it was April 10th, okay, a while ago. I had mentioned I'd looked for this a dog for my neighbor. She wasn't interested. And then I mentioned it to my friend that came to visit a few weeks ago. And I had mentioned it to her early April too, because she lost her dog last year. So I thought this could be good. And she loves Betty. And, there were just things that made me think of her to be a great pet mom. Well, she is a great pet mom. And they have one dog, but you know how partners need one each at least? I feel like you need one each. I mean, or at least one. And she was without one. And that was kind of sad. And she had kind of been thinking about it and everything. But when we mentioned it to her, she didn't really seem to have any interest. I didn't want to like labor on it. So when she went home, I really felt like she's back in Georgia. They're back in Georgia. Like that ship had sailed, right? Almost like I didn't think about it. And a couple weeks go by, and she told us that she wasn't thinking about it. Never once after she left did she think about Bluebell. No thinking about it. She didn't think about Bluebell. They looked at a few other dogs even, okay? And then the day after we meditated together on taking giving, that was Wednesday. Thursday, during the day while she was at work, she just couldn't stop thinking about Bluebell. She hadn't had one other thought until then, thinking about Bluebell and that she needed to get Bluebell. And so she texted Missy during the day that day. And of course, we jumped on it. We're like, yes, we will go this weekend and get her. And it all just, happened out. It worked out perfectly. She came on Sunday. Um, we went and got her on Sunday. But okay, this is part of what came to me. Okay. So you 2 weren't in class last week, were you? No, you were no. Okay, so one thing that I mentioned, I don't do a good job of explaining it. I know that, but you can if you know of this concept, you can explain it better for me. But I was reading about how in quantum physics a few years ago in 2022, they proved that you can separate atoms, that are near each other, particles. You can separate them by miles, by light years, even. And you do something to one, and it will happen to the other. Because normally, when you're next to something, you think, oh, I can hit him on the elbow and I can make something happen. But you think something can happen. And Einstein actually thought that this was the case. He theorized that this was true, that it did happen. And he called it something like, well, the word spooky was in it. Spooky. I can't remember what it was. It was like spooky phenomenon at a distance or something like that. But I was like, and he couldn't prove it. But these physicists proved it, and they received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022 for proving this. And I related it to, in my mind, I thought, hmm, That's very interesting. Like prayer, when we've talk about prayer, I always think of it as a wish path, right? Like we talk about the word in Tibetan that they use is wish path, which I love because it makes me feel like it's going somewhere. You make a wish for someone and it's a point from A to B. But what if it's also a wish path connecting us with others? Right, that dawned on me, see, that day, and then I all of this was coming together, and then when this happened, when I really felt like and I had prayed for this dog before. I hadn't done taking giving for Bluebell, but I definitely prayed for her and for her to find a home. But I feel like when we did taking giving and we did it as a group, they say there's a lot of power in meditating as a group also. You know, that maybe somehow and I didn't think about Tina in the meditation. I was like, target Tina, you know, plant thoughts in her head. I wasn't like thinking about any person or anything. I was just wishing for all these animals and Bluebell to have a loving home. And I just felt like it worked. Like somehow it just seemed too magical that suddenly she gets it in her mind after we collectively did this taking giving, and it even felt powerful, like people enjoyed it in the class. They said this was powerful for them, and I really didn't know how people would take it because it's kind of an unusual meditation, but I did feel like I got something from I understood, I had an epiphany about prayer, that it is also a wish path where we can affect others. I mean, why can't we? Our mind can affect others. If we're sitting next to them, definitely. But why can't our mind create a pathway that we can help others?